largest station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Hello, District of Virginia and all who are watching. It is Saturday, May 11, and you are now tuned in to another episode with INCRadio Virginia Satellite Studio. My name is Brother RJ Gabrantina from the local congregation of Chesapeake, Virginia. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we continue, this is your reminder to keep commenting in the live chat for our ongoing hashtag challenge here on INCRadio Virginia, so we can see who is the most active and supportive local congregation in the district. Stay tuned until the end of the episode to find out if your local congregation made it in the top 5. But for now, let's go ahead and get straight into our episode by introducing our guests. So please, can you introduce yourself by letting us know your names and what local congregation you are from?
Hi, my name is Rosita Marisol from the locale of Chesapeake, Virginia.
And I am Bernadette Regini, also from the locale of Chesapeake, Virginia.
Thank you so much for coming on this episode to talk about our theme, our topic, nurturing love, and what a perfect couple of guests to join us for this topic than a mother-daughter combo. So, talking about, let's get to know more about you first. So, we've already know your names now. We already know where you're from. Tell us an interesting fact about the other. So, Ate Berna, what's an interesting fact about your mom? And then Tia Rose, what's an interesting fact about Ate Berna? Whoever wants to start. Is there anything interesting about either?
I mean, of course, there's interesting facts. An interesting fact is about my mother is she's a cancer survivor from breast cancer. Mm-hmm.
Nice, and glory be to God for that. Tia Rose, what's an interesting fact about Ate Berna? What's something about her? Maybe you can even go far back as when she was a child if you want.
The interesting part about my daughter Bernadette, where is everything.
Oh,
Everything. She is a very good daughter and very helpful. I don't know what to say anymore. I mean, I got my perfect daughter here with me.
That's so sweet. So her interesting fact is that she herself is interesting. Let's focus now, I guess, a little bit more on you, Ate Berna. What was a moment from your childhood that you thought your mom was a superhero? Because I know a lot of us think highly of our moms. They call them super moms for a reason. Mm-hmm. What was a moment that you thought your mom was a superhero?
It was very early on. I can still remember it. From childhood, I was probably, 6, 7 years old. I just will never forget this. Like, it's always in my mind. We were with our aunt, my cousins, and we were just hanging out. And my aunt asked me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" She remembers. That's why she's laughing. And I said, "I want to be just like my mom."
Oh, that's so sweet.
And yeah, and I knew then, I always looked up to her, from being a childhood. So everything she did, she was hardworking. She took care of me and my sister, and so that kind of inspired me to, be just like her. And so, hero doesn't necessarily mean that, she was saving me or anything like that. It was just, she was my mother. I mean, what mother is not a superhero, right?
Very well said. Yeah, I mean, that's the same for me and my mom. You both know my mom.
Yes.
She's also a super mom to me. Of course, I can't be exactly like her, but I do strive to be just like her. In terms of one of my favorite qualities of my mom is her kindness. She is so sweet, so nice. She'll always greet you with a smile. If you're comfortable, she'll give you a hug. So that's something that I always wanted to do ever since I was young, is embody that kindness and keep that with me as well. So that's the first thing that I noticed. That I think that's when I noticed my mom was a superhero. Is everyone telling me how nice she was. Some people even being jealous that that's my mom. Like, and they're like, "You're my mom too. I want you to be my mom." Nothing against their moms, but they just wanted to share that love that my mom always gives.
Yeah. Mhm.
But back to you guys, though. Girls, how do you feel about what Ate Berna said and how when she was younger she wanted to be just like you? What did you think then, and how do you think about that now?
Well, I said, "Are you sure?" And then later on, I said to myself, "Wow, she really did it. Like,
I became just like my mom.
yeah, just like me."
In terms of, she was working in the insurance industry,
Yes.
Oh,
and I followed that career path and am still in the insurance industry.
Yeah.
so you really just did copy paste.
Pretty much, yes. And she had 2 kids, and I had 2 kids. Yeah,
You weren't joking. You really had this
yeah.
plan
I
of being
mean,
just like your mom.
yes.
Clearly, Ate Berna, you've really looked up to your mom throughout your entire life, and I'm sure even still now. What has been the biggest life lesson you've learned from her?
The biggest life lesson. Oh man. The biggest life lesson was when she was whew, touchy. Was when she was undergoing chemotherapy, and to see that she had to go through that. But she always told me um, to don't be afraid, that everything's going to be okay because God is on our side. And she always reminded me the power of prayer. Um, you know, that has stuck with me. I mean, even until now, So of course, I I was young, but it still sits here, because I remember that clearly, and because she even left all her worries and cares through her prayers, she was able to overcome, and so truly grateful she's here today. So
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yes, prayer is super powerful. Again, I try to compare it, try to share my conversation part with my mom. Is that's the biggest lesson she's taught me too, is to always pray. Literally, when I used to live away from home for a while, and anytime I would call her,
Mhm.
when we would hang up,
Yeah.
instead of saying goodbye as the last thing she said, the last words were always pray.
Yes.
That was always the last word she said. I think it's beautiful when our parents are able to pass that on to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anja Rose, how do you feel about that? Knowing that you've really put that instilled that into Ate Berna.
Uh, I I want to say this one thing also. When I had a car accident, we live in Georgia, and she she said she was playing volleyball that time, and I was in the hospital already. I I was airlifted, is what you call it, and I thought that was that's my last day on earth. And while I was at the ER, I heard a lot of people, and I was looking for my daughter. I can still, think. I was looking for her, and I found out that she was playing volleyball. And I said to myself, "Oh, come here! I'm at the hospital." And
Oh, I made my way.
yeah, yes,
The hospital called me.
Yeah,
and
that-
that's, oh, I cannot. I cannot express the feelings. Your daughter come to the rescue.
yeah,
Feels so good when I saw her. Like I'm already well.
yeah. That's beautiful. So it's, I guess you really kind of helped me realize something here is that as much as the children see our moms as like these superheroes,
Mhm.
we can reciprocate it. And
Yeah.
that's beautiful. That's very encouraging to hear, to know that, because that's really all we want to do, as children, going back, paying it forward back to our parents. So I'm glad that Ate Berna was able to do that for you. And clearly, oh yes, go ahead.
Always there.
Um, Auntie Rose, let's kind of go back into your part of the story and I guess, where this comes from too. Maybe it comes from you. So can you tell us a bit about your mom and maybe a life lesson you learned from her?
My mom is just like just like me. She's quiet and she just I'm just like my mom. I don't know how to cook. I just cook rice and I fry the fish.
So that's the one thing you've learned is, or I guess lack thereof, learned is
Yes,
how to cook.
that's what I've learned about my mom.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess there's another thing I realize now, that the only difference is from Auntie Rose to Ate Berna is Auntie Rose said she's quiet.
Yeah, very, very different in that aspect.
Yeah,
I got it from my father.
Oh,
yeah,
okay, there it is.
that's right. Mhm.
Yeah, but I love it, at the burn, because I know Unity Games is coming up, so I know at the Burners is always going to be the loudest one there, cheering on Chesapeake. So I already know that, and just even in general, anytime we're out together, whether as a local or an activity, I can always know where out the burner is when I hear her laugh. It's truly something that always makes my day, honestly, no matter what's going on in the day.
But I did not. I don't need to look for her immunity game.
Mhm.
You'll
I
get
can hear her voice.
exactly. So you may have answered it here, but what's one thing that you've learned from your moms, that you are doing your best to implement now for your children? So, Auntie Rose, let's start with you then, so we can go kind of down the order here. What's something you learned from your mom that you're doing your best to, or have done and continue to do your best for your children and even grandchildren?
uh, magalang.
What's that?
Well, yeah.
Magalang. She said
Or respectful.
Magalang, yeah, respect, yeah.
I told them, my other daughter and Berna, to be respectful to the elders.
Very nice. Yeah, I think that, and I think they've definitely, you know, implanted that in their lives. So that's beautiful that your mom taught that to you, and you want to teach that to your children as well. Uh, At the Berna, same question then. What have you learned from your mom that you're doing your best to teach with your children?
What I, it really boils down to at the end of the day, and what she taught me was always leaving everything in God's hands, like God first, no matter what. So that's what I really did my best to implement. As you know, Jade, and she's turning 28 this year. So she's learned that from me, hopefully, to leave everything in God's hands. I mean, we've got 3 generations, so.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, that's definitely, similarities again with our families, because I know, we have family here on panelists, but if I can also chime in into the conversation, is that what I want to, I've learned from my mom that I want to implement, not just the things I've already mentioned, is, the kindness and, always praying,
Mhm.
but I guess a combination of the two somehow, but, you know, always she's always working, like,
Mhm.
for her family.
Right.
She's well, not long since, but she's a retired already. But
Right.
she's always doing her best to look out for her family, and I think I've learned that from both of my parents. Really, what I've said before, what I've noticed is I learned two things that are also very similar, both just like personal wise and also faith wise. Is from my dad, I learned hard work.
Mhm.
From my mom, I learned kindness.
Right.
And then on the faith side, which all of it is still intertwined, but my dad taught me to fear God, and my mom taught me to trust God. And I think the combination of all those things have really molded me into who I am today and who I try to be, you know,
Mhm.
and try to continue to be. So it's
Mhm.
great to have parents who are such great role models. So, but yeah, now it's a while for me still to become a parent. I'm getting married later this year, but even still, that's still a way for me to be a parent. So I don't know anything about that yet. I'm the fun uncle for now, you know, um, which is also kind of teaching me how to become a parent.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
teaching me patience,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also teaching me, to let them learn, let them ask questions.
Right.
One of my particular nephews, shout out Owen, uh, he is always asking questions, even if he knows the answer. So sometimes I just, even though I'm like, I know you know the answer, I'll still entertain him and let him learn, let him ask, let him grow, let him have fun. And I think, that's something that I realized that I probably did to my mom. I asked so many questions and she answered them. She helped me out. She helped me learn. So that's already, even though again, I'm not a parent by any means, that's probably my favorite part now of learning about how to be a parent. What is your favorite part of being a mother? Aldeberna, let's start with you. What's your favorite thing about being a mom?
Um, I think like I have, like being a mom. I mean, of course, when I was younger, it was fun because I could teach and guide my children. I could um, just let them be kids. And then as they got older, now that they're a lot older, now as a mom, I'm also their friend. So I'm also there for them whenever they need me. Both me and my husband, we're also friends. I just enjoyed being a mom because I could you know guide them, nurture them, give them love equally, and at the same time, um, I could also lean on God and the CWS to help guide them as they grew up. So, but I learned a lot about myself because I did not think I could be a mom. In terms of, I didn't know if I had enough patience to be a mom. But as I got, as a mom, I mean, you have to have that. So I learned that mothers can almost do anything. you know, so um, so I was a teacher. I was I was their friend, and I could discipline, and I learned patience. I mean, there's just so many things about being a mom that was just a fun experience, and as long as I'm here on this earth, I'm a mom to
Yeah.
my kids.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's one thing I've learned too, because I'm around that age now too, where all of my friends, or even not just my siblings, I'm seeing them as parents, and I'm learning so much just by proxy. And um, you know, I've always had great respect for moms because I have a wonderful mom, so I've always respected my mom. But I've really started noticing, like how you were mentioning, how many hats they wear.
Hmm.
Not to say that the dad doesn't do anything, but it really is a lot. There's so many things on the mom. And um but one of the best things that you mentioned is that they get to also be a friend.
Hmm.
I do consider my mom a friend, and I know my sisters especially saw my mom as a friend. So I think that's another beautiful thing, especially when it comes to a mother-daughter relationship,
Right.
that you're there for them. And you've been through it, and now they're going to go through it, so you can be their guide throughout life. So, Auntie Rose, what about you? What's your favorite thing about being a mom?
You know what? I think Berna said it all.
It's a one size fits all. It's everyone's favorite thing about being a mom.
It really is. I mean, I read something today about how, just like you said, not that fathers don't do everything or anything in the family dynamics. I mean, they have a great big role too. but like mothers are just multitasking all the time, and it's like nonstop. Scheduling things, making appointments.
It's a full-time
It's a
job.
full-time job. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw something on social media as well. My sister, I think it was it's either my sister or my sister-in-law shared it. How like your normal routine, your normal day of like, I had to do this, I had to do that, I had to do this. It it's in your eyes is just that, but in the eyes of your children, it's like she was there for me. She did this. They see it as something different. So it gives them motivation to keep going. So I know it's tough, but to all the mothers out there, I especially want to give you a shout out because I know if and to any Binhi Kadiwa or even anyone who's a child watching right now, please call your moms and say hi to them, tell them you love them, while you still can.
Right.
It's very important because one thing I do now that I'm back at home living with my parents is I used to do this thing before and I do it now again is I give my mom daily hugs, at least one per day, because my mom is a hugger. Like I said earlier in the beginning, she'll hug you if you're comfortable, but so I give her a hug every day. Our family loves hugs, and I think it's because of my mom.
That's nice. I mean, one thing we always do, and even now, I mean, we've been doing this. I remember growing up, I used to, before we'd go to bed, I'd always say, good night, sleep tight, don't let the bug bugs bite.
Yeah.
Say that all the time. But now it's like, even on the phone or if I'm leaving the house, how you respectfully let them know that you're leaving. I always make sure that the last words that come out of my mouth is I love you, because, we don't say it just to say it. I mean, that it's said because it's what we really mean,
Yeah. Very good point. Yeah, because you're right. I do say it every time, and it's not a routine. It's you mean it every time you say it.
Yep.
And it's important.
Yep.
We are getting a little towards the end of our episode here. One final thing I want to try out, and I hope, because I know all of us have been very emotional throughout this episode. So I'm hoping this doesn't get maybe too emotional, but I mean, feel free if it does. I just wanted to say, is there anything that you feel like you haven't said to each other or maybe haven't said enough? Would you like this opportunity to say it to each other now?
um I mean, my mom knows that despite whatever we may be going through, because being at home 24/7 all the time, I work from home, so we're always together. I mean, no matter what you may be going through, Mom, just like you have taught me to always leave all my worries and cares with God, I want you to do the same. I know it's not getting easier, getting older, but always stay strong because, I always look up to you. And while you're here, Mom, I'm grateful that you're here. Okay? Thank you. And I always tell her I love her, so she knows that.
Yeah. I know, Auntie Rose, I know. Trust me, I know. Because everything Ate Bern just said to you is what I would say to my mom as well.
Yeah.
But is there anything that you'd like to say to Ate Berna by chance?
I love her very, very much.
Yeah. I know you say it a lot, but of course we can never say it enough, right? Well, again, thank you so much for joining us here. Before we close out, as I promised our viewers, we're going to find out who our winners are for the hashtag challenge from last week's episode. Make sure you're keeping in touch in the chat with your hashtags now to find out who will win this episode. But first, let's see our winners from last week's episode. Here are the results of the INCRadio Virginia hashtag challenge for the episode from May 4, 2024. For fifth place, it's the local congregation of Raleigh, North Carolina. In fourth place, we have the local congregation of Chesapeake, Virginia. Coming in at third place, it's the local congregation of Norfolk, Virginia. In second place is the local congregation of North Atlanta, Georgia. And in first place is the local congregation of Charlotte, North Carolina. Congratulations to all the winners. Who will win next week? Keep commenting in the live chat with your hashtag for a chance to appear on our leaderboards. Congratulations again to all those winners. Before we close out again, let's see what's going on in the District of Virginia. Here is our CFO in action.
CFO in action.
Last week, our district celebrated CFO Day. Multiple sites throughout the district hosted the celebration of the event. Each Christian family organization set up booths for the brethren to enjoy. The Binhi and Kadiwa had booths with fun games to play. Those part of the children's worship service participated in arts and crafts activities. And the married brethren in the Bookload had booths surrounding health and wellness, including free health checkups and massages. There were also fun prizes and giveaways for the brethren to take home.
CFO in action.
Our Unity Games is coming soon. On May 27, our Unity Games will be held in Rise Indoor Sports in Bermuda Run, North Carolina. Make sure you register by reaching out to your CFO officers. Then, grab your gear or get ready to cheer. We'll see you at this year's District Unity Games.
CFO in action.
All right, and again, that is our episode of INC Radio Virginia. Thank you again to the both of you for joining us. Before we close out completely, I'd like to give this opportunity for you to give any shout outs if you'd like to give any shout outs to any family or friends or anything like that.
Shout out to my entire family and friends of Chesapeake, my husband Wilbur, my children, and they know who they are. Hello.
All our loved ones.
All our loved ones.
All the loved ones. Yes, perfect. And while we're at it, I'll give shout outs as well. Shout outs to my mom and even, of course, my dad, all of my family. Again, like I said, I've been learning so much from my siblings. So shout outs to my aunt, Des, and shout outs to my sister-in-law, to Valerie. Thank you for showing me what it is to be a parent, even though I'm not one yet. Shout outs to my fiance, Sister Elaine from the District of British Columbia, Canada. Hope I didn't scare you yet from all this talks about being a parent. But one step at a time. We're getting married first. We'll focus on that. But of course, before we go, we'd like to give our special thanks ultimately to our Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, our CFO Coordinator and SEPSI President and CEO, Brother Angelo Arano Manalo, our District Minister, Brother Stephen Asensio, our Assistant District Minister, Brother June Hernandez, our District CFO Overseer, Brother Melvin Bayangoan, our District Multimedia Advisor, Brother Denzel Van Malapit, our Executive Producer, Brother Manly Andaya, our Kuya Techs, and all of our INC Radio family. And of course, to all of you watching and supporting INC Radio Virginia, especially to the mothers. We'll see you next week. But for now, keep tuning in for INC Radio Latino America. Thank you.